Hey, friends, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host and your friend in the Christian music industry, Wisdom Moon. And today I have Allie Murphy with me. Welcome, Allie.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing good. Just busy.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here
Thanks.
because that would be weird if I'm trying to interview you and you weren't here. Then I'd be just talking to
One
myself.
sided. You
Yeah.
could do that.
Yeah. So, just a quick little blurb about Allie. She is a mom of how many kids?
Four.
Four kids. Oh,
Yeah.
same here. So,
Oh,
I'm not a
cool.
mom, but I have four
Oh.
kids. And she loves to spread hope and beauty through piano driven songs with honest lyrics. And she's been compared to both Brooke Fraser and Sarah Groves, which is awesome. Sarah Groves is actually one of my favorite like all time artists and songwriters. I had the privilege of
Me too.
interviewing her years ago.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah, it
love to
was a
dig
lot of
that
fun.
up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still out there somewhere.
Cool.
And she and her family reside outside of Jackson, Mississippi, where I have never been. That's one of the places I've never
Well,
been in the country.
come on down.
All I could think of is like a river for some
Well,
reason.
yeah, the Mississippi River. Yep.
Yeah. And she serves in leading worship alongside her husband, Mike.
hmm
And together they do have four kids and a musically wild but never quiet household,
Yes.
except for now. Right now, it's
Except
pretty
for right
quiet.
now. Shockingly quiet. Thanks to my
Yeah.
ever faithful hubby.
So, yeah, I'm excited to just have you share about your journey and kind of like what you're doing right now within music and ministry. So, I would love to just have you unpack some of that. But maybe to start out, you could share about how you got into music.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Colorado, so I am not a Southern native, but I have now been in the South for, I think it's like 15 plus years.
Oh, wow.
Um, I began writing songs in high school when I sort of nervously asked the high school praise team, who I perceived were way cooler than I was. I said, "Hey, I play piano and you don't have a piano player, so could I like bring my keyboard?" Which was like 77 keys. um, and they said yes. And sort of in that sphere, playing with other people, learning chords and figuring that out, I realized that I could write. And
Mm.
so I wanted to pursue that. And I chased after those dreams and went to Belmont University in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, which was a huge gift and blessing from the Lord. But I really was crushed there
Mm.
under just all the competition.
Yeah.
And I was learning how to be an adult,
Yeah.
um, juggling, having a little bit too much fun, and getting myself into the practice room.
Mm.
Practicing classical piano and jazz piano was fun, but I'd rather just sit there and write songs.
Yeah.
And at the time, they did not have a songwriting major. They do now.
Uh,
But that wasn't an opportunity given to me. So
mm.
when I did not pass my sophomore technical, I changed my major to art and became, I guess, what I am today, the full, like, I don't know, Renaissance human who can do all the
Mhm.
things, but maybe not all amazingly. And then my first job out of college was actually working for a mom blogger influencer who
Oh.
designed fabric.
Oh,
And I
wow.
ran her online store, and we went to market. And she was somebody that a lot of people loved.
Oh.
Those were the days of Blogspot, and we had like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I think 15,000 daily visitors. It was a big deal.
Wow. Jeez.
Um, but we worked in her home, so I saw firsthand what it looked like to be a mom, even though I had no idea because I was such a baby
Oh.
at the time. But I witnessed the juggle of all of that.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, then the Lord led us out of Nashville when my husband was looking for full-time worship director gigs, which in Nashville, there aren't a ton of full-time because
Yeah.
there's so many musicians.
Yeah.
And so we got led to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where we
Oh
served
wow.
for the first time. And we went, head in into full time ministry, loving that community and building small groups and loving those people
Mm.
and serving musically there. And so, sort of the identity of songwriter had long since been laid down in that season because I didn't understand or have a vision for a space for it. I think
Mm.
because I had seen the professionalism in Nashville and knowing
Yeah.
personally firsthand knowing people who were led into the limelight,
Mm.
seeing that and saying, well, the Lord didn't give that to me. And so I guess, oh, well, I can do other things. I can do graphic design.
Mm.
And really at the time, I was not trained for anything that would pay for childcare. Um, so when we had kids, we were just scrappy and I was a
Mm.
stay-at-home mom and we made it work.
Yeah.
And that was my heart for a long time. And I'm still that to this day. We have 4 kids
Mm.
and we do something that's called a collaborative homeschooling because my kids go
Mm.
2 days a week and then we run the rest from home.
Nice.
So the amount of time that I have to devote to like little creative ventures seems small and insignificant.
Mm.
But somewhere along the way, I was inspired by other people back again after honestly having a lot of season of jealousy over my friends who were
Mm.
out there doing it
Yeah.
on the radio. And I had a long season not really even being able to listen to it.
Mm.
But this one little songwriter, her name is Melanie Penn, uh,
Oh yeah.
wrote this song. And the bridge says something about, is it our duty to keep singing, whether funeral songs or battle cries or lullabies? I think it is. We should sing a
Mm.
song. And I remember hearing that and being like, oh, I should sing a song. Why am I not doing that? And I
Mm.
slowly, surely picked up songwriting again, and it would just be at nighttime. And then
Mm.
Mike and I recorded a hymns album, and then he said, you have all these songs, you should be next. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay, well, sure, but when? Haha.
Mm.
And then we transitioned to a different church again, and we love this town. Being in Jackson has been such a surprise and a gift, because we have people who just love us and um, put wind to our sails. The pastor of
Mm.
our church really is a creative, actually writes songs with my husband,
Oh,
and
cool.
says to me constantly that he is my biggest fan. And being
Awesome.
under that kind of church is a huge gift.
Mm.
Um, as a worship person, sometimes there's like a divide, between the
Yeah.
worship director and the singer songwriter. And
Mm.
when you're on stage every Sunday, crafting songs that go after the sermon, right? Spending time on that. Sometimes, like my individual songs had definitely gotten just lost in the shuffle.
Mm.
But my kids go to school 2 days a week. And at some point, I decided I am not going to use that time to do dishes and make our house perfect. At one point,
Mm.
I would have said I should do that.
Yeah.
And a running household is important and good, but actually not fully necessary
Mm.
as far as the perfection of it, right?
Yeah.
And so instead of scurrying around on those Tuesday, Thursday days that I had, I put myself on the piano and started finishing songs. And then
Mm.
we started recording them. And we were literally down to the wire recording from 10 to 2. And thankfully, like we had preschoolers downstairs, literally in the same building. We would literally a few of the takes that even made it onto the album that I am now, the songs that I'm releasing now, literally it was down to the wire. And I throw off the things, run downstairs and pick up the kids, throw them in the car to go next door to the other building to get the other kids. So it's
Wow.
kind of comical the way it's all gone down. But
Yeah.
yeah, using what I have
That's
in
awesome.
scrappy ways, I guess, is kind of what's happened in the last few years of my life.
Wow. We talked about Sarah Groves. She has a song called, I think it's called "Setting Up the Pins," but it's basically about
Oh,
like, yeah, you like basically the bowling. Is it a ball, bowling ball? Like throw it down, you knock
Mm.
down the pins, and then you
Mm.
set it all back up again every single day, basically.
Yeah,
And it could feel very monotonous.
it does. And I released a song a few months called Better Things, which was a prayer. Help me believe that it matters, every small thing that I'm taking up, that's taking after my every moment of my waking day, because it's a whole bunch of pins, it's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
darts. Do this, fill this need, you know,
yeah.
um,
How many
manage
times do you
health
think you
need.
hear the word mom in a day?
Oh, well, and a thousand other variations. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
One of mine actually calls me Allie sometimes, and it's funny. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I should count that. That would be comical, or maybe
Yeah.
depressing. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't count it. I will say my sweet mother-in-law, who had 4 kids, she actually had 2 boys, and they tried for a girl, and then got 2 boy twins. I'm married to the twin, and
Oh.
she said, I remember complaining to an old woman at our church, and she said, "Honey, don't count diapers. Do you count every dish you wash? Do you count every meal that you
Mm,
ate? Like, don't count diapers."
wow.
And that was good wisdom from my mother-in-law, who actually heard from someone else. But I've always
Huh.
remembered that as, yeah, don't count it, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it doesn't matter. It's all a
Wow.
labor. It's all a work. It's all important, right?
Yeah.
Songwriting for me is like the expression of helping. I remember Sarah Groves actually says, you're helping people feel and work through things.
Mm,
And so being diligent to work at those things, on one hand, finishing songs for me is actually finishing thoughts in my own brain as far as what the Lord is teaching me and working on in my heart. And then finishing that to the point of sharing is like the missional part of that, right?
yeah.
Putting it out into the world. Um, but then I'm always very much aware of the weight of that doesn't hold more weight than the other things, than the changing diapers, right? Like,
Mm,
those actually hold equal weight. All of those are adding to the beauty of life. Um,
yeah.
um, but it's definitely not easy to remember that.
Yeah.
I don't win at that game a lot.
Yeah. I think I don't remember who said it, but somebody said, the days are long, but the years are short,
Yeah.
when you have kids. And
Yeah.
I love that you're able to still write songs and release songs even with 4 kids and homeschooling them. Uh, I
Well,
can't even
it's
imagine.
happened slow. I
Yeah,
mean, it's the project that we're putting out has taken 3 years,
yeah,
because that's what it has been. It's a whole bunch of picking up and putting down and asking, can we continue this?
mm,
And then in some ways, I think, well, but now we're doing it. And so, should I do it again? What does that look like if I do it
yeah,
again? Could we find a way to produce faster? I think maybe, now that we've done it, I think maybe. But it's
mm,
also like I've committed myself to, right now, currently, I'm releasing 1 song a month.
mm,
Um, and it'll be done in September, and that is when I will, you know, put it down, flip my phone
mm.
over, uninstall Instagram, and sit and wait, and then pray and ask Mike, should we do this again? Um, and then sometimes that can be a little bit depressing, because I'm like, okay, so then I got to push really hard right now to ensure that when I get to turn it off, it's lasting. But the
Mm,
truth is, like, that's actually not my job. I
mm,
faithfully put out, I faithfully do whatever it is that's next, and then pray and weigh it out and see what's next, and wait.
mm.
Um, I believed something for a long time that I later recognized was not true. The message of the Proverbs 31 woman is sometimes, this must be the perfect in the day of life, in the day of the life of the perfect woman, right?
Yeah.
Um, but Proverbs 31 is more of a personification of like what a
Mm,
woman who fears the Lord can accomplish in a lifetime.
mm,
And when you recognize that and dig into that, it takes a whole bunch of pressure off, because whatever I can accomplish in one season, I can assign myself to do something diligently for a season and then
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
That's much easier said than done, of course. Um,
Mm.
but yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a worship leader, songwriter, just last week asked me, man, like, how do you juggle everything you juggle? Running a marketing agency and like being a dad,
Yeah.
husband, starting a label last year. And I told them, I think there's seasons for different things, and
Hmm.
sometimes like God may give you grace to do a lot in a season, and then
Hmm.
maybe that season needs to come to an end. And there's definitely like seasons where I had to work a ton,
Yeah.
just to like provide for my family. So yeah, I think it's one of those things like I love like how you guys approach it. You just sit down and talk about it and assess.
Hmm.
Okay, do we want to do this again? Do we feel like this is what we're supposed to do again?
Yeah.
And not going, okay, this is going to be my full time career for the next 20 years.
Right. Well, somebody told me too, and this is humbling, I guess, really, because the whole thing, really, I feel like I've done this for a long time. I've been around the people who have done it way more professionally than I am. So, in some ways, here I am in my mid 30s starting. And that's like, oh, if I
Mm,
had like maybe started earlier when I didn't have other people to worry about, I mean, that's like, the lie that comes out late at night when you're laying in bed thinking,
yeah.
like if only I had just done that.
Mm,
But then remembering, like, that's not what the Lord gave me. And so
mm,
everything that He gives me is for my good. Um, and so take that, I guess, as you
yeah.
may, but it's not what the Lord gave me. And how much more do I have to give now than I did then, maybe? I've been finding other people out there in the four corners of the world as I've been doing this. It was very assuring and helpful for me to just find other people out on the internet
Mm,
doing it, which seems almost silly in a way. But I've been out of Nashville now 10 plus years. So I know what it's like to not know anyone like you. Um, and even leading worship, honestly, sometimes I'm the only female musician on the stage,
mm,
or sometimes the only female instrumentalist on the stage. And we have so many gifted, wonderful singers who sing with us, but they're not pursuing that as a thing, right? They're
yeah.
gifted and wonderful. They're serving the church. Um, and so being that human who kind of would like to do that, but doesn't really have a space, it's been a freeing gift for me to seek out those people out beyond my sphere.
Yeah.
Um, and I would say something that you said, when someone asks you, how do you do it? I think something that you exemplify well, as I've watched you build, um, you know how to build a good team.
Mm,
And I've been blessed by that team. Um, and you have some great people working for you, and that's
oh,
such a
thank you.
gift. The
Yeah.
Lord has provided you, but I think building a team is everything. Like,
Yeah.
you can't do everything alone. Um, and for
Yes.
me, I can't hire anybody. Really, I can't hire an assistant, but
Yeah.
I can seasonally attend workshops. I can seasonally,
Mm,
there's so much available digitally now, like, praise
yeah.
the Lord. And maybe that was COVID, I don't know, but um, I can do that seasonally, and that helps me get people in my corner that say, actually, you should do this. Yeah,
Mm,
that's worth it. That's
yeah.
valuable. Um, and I have to take all those advice with a grain of salt and then say, okay, what percentage of this can I do? Because yes,
Yeah.
you should do this, is maybe if I were in a vacuum making decisions only for myself. But
Yeah. Yeah.
still, I can partake and learn,
Yeah. I mean,
and
that's
dig and
how
keep
we
going.
approach like marketing ideas when we're working with clients like yourself. We want to provide like as many ideas and like creative things as possible,
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, like, you're the artist and you know what you can and can't do,
right.
like
Yeah,
time wise, resources wise. So like you have to make the executive decision to go,
yeah.
okay, I love all these ideas, but here are the five things that are realistic for me to actually do.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's a weighty decision because the world
Hmm.
says keep pushing.
Yeah.
And especially for women and mamas today, like, you can have it all. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just not possible. Maybe in
Yeah.
seasons, sure,
Yeah.
but no, something is gonna drop. And that
Mm.
is legitimately what I witnessed when I worked for the blogger. I
Mm.
witnessed a lot of things drop. And I will say, as not have been a mom yet, I was pretty judgmental over the things that got dropped. Which
Mm.
now I will say I would totally laugh hysterically over the fact that, of course, my dishes are just as dirty. I just didn't know. I mean, she had a lot of kids. I just had no idea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's like people that are out there that are like coaching parents but they're not a parent
Oh,
themselves, you know.
bless their hearts. They mean so
Like,
well.
yeah, I always wonder
Yeah.
how does that work? Like if you're coaching somebody but like you've never experienced it
I
yourself, you
don't
know.
know. Man, it's a hard knock
Uh,
though. Then if that day comes, if the Lord does bless them with that, I mean, it's a hard
yeah.
knock.
Yeah.
Everything the Lord gives us, right? It's like a huge gift of, wow, the Lord has given me this. And I realize I had so many expectations of what that would look like.
Mm,
And it never really is what we think it will be.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share a little bit about the song mom. What is
Yeah.
the song mom?
The song mom. Okay, so 3 years ago, I started genuinely picking songs back up again. And then maybe 2 years ago, what is it, 2022? In
Yeah.
January of 2020, I attended a day retreat. And I think I changed my handle somewhere around there just before or just
Mm,
after. I don't remember. And I very intentionally just changed my personal account because
mm,
I thought I could build and start from scratch and separate my two identities. I could have the Allie Murphy who does music, and I could have the Instagram account where I every once in a while share some pictures of my kids,
mm,
which I
yeah.
increasingly do less and less these days, honestly.
Mm,
It's morphed and changed, right? Um, but for me, that name was both and. I don't have to choose one or the other. Well,
yeah.
I do. There's times where I have to choose my family. I absolutely
Yeah.
do. They are more priority. They are the highest priority and the
Yeah.
best creative endeavor, right?
Yeah.
But the song Mom for me was I can be both and I can say and claim both because
Mm,
both are important to me. And also, I honestly just thought it was more memorable than Allie Murphy. I mean,
mm.
I know that sounds really stupid or ridiculous, but
Oh
it
no.
just was catchy and cute.
Yeah.
And in that phase, I felt like I was titling myself as something. And as I titled myself something for whatever stupid reason, I feel like it gave me boldness to like just start messaging people. I started messaging
Mm,
other random songwriters and my whole world was opened. Because
wow.
previously on Instagram, honestly, I was following lifestyle bloggers and like pristine houses and I'm a visual person, so I love
Yeah.
looking at that stuff.
Yeah.
I honestly had no idea that there was like this whole Instagram world of songwriters. And then I
Mm.
was finding other song moms. And that was a huge gift. And I don't know. I said, hey, I've been writing songs and I'm starting this thing. And I see you're in, I don't know, Minnesota.
Mm.
You know, I don't know if you have any people in your life that also write songs, but I'd love to connect if
Mm.
you're ever interested.
Yeah.
And then I started doing live chats, which is kind of a random offhand thing. I wish I were more consistent and like scheduled, like it was a season or whatever, but that's not really what it is. And that's not really for that. It's just kind of a conversation that people get to witness. And it's sometimes I'm talking with somebody that I know, and sometimes I'm talking with someone who's random, who I literally just DM'd and said, hey, I love what you're doing. Would you ever
Yeah.
want to talk with me? Because like I'm kind of doing that same thing in random Jackson, Mississippi too.
Mm.
And they're like, sure, because suddenly there's a thing to do. And a thing to do, no matter how small or whatever, is a very important thing for people.
Mm.
Um, so I don't know. I don't know really what that is in the long run. Right now, it's just conversations.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but
That's really cool. I
I guess I
mean,
feel like I'm
we
gathering in whatever
yeah.
digital way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that idea because I mean, we've worked with a lot of mom songwriters and artists, and I do feel like a lot of them feel isolated because
Yeah.
they're, just in the grind of daily activities and setting up the pins,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, I mean, that I think that is the biggest struggle is like I don't have much time and I don't know that it's worth it, and they don't really have other people to really understand their situation and be able to like bounce off ideas and just
Yeah.
even vent to each other
Yeah.
about it. So yeah, I
Well,
love
I
that.
have one friend that we call once a month, and she was just saying the other day, well, but I don't know, is this self-serving?
Mm,
Like I don't know. She struggles with the decisions of social media and whether she should be there, which is a good thing to be weighty about. It's a good thing to
yeah,
think about those things. Um, it's important to actually weigh in and think about those things rather than to
yeah,
just willy nilly do it.
yeah.
Like I actually just formulated myself for myself. It's a social media manifesto. I wrote it down on a piece of paper,
Oh,
and
nice.
I've set limits. And also, it has a little list of okay, while I'm there, these are these are the things that I'm going to do while I'm there, and then I'm going to
Mm,
sign off. But it's also not necessarily, even though it is weighty, it's not necessarily a reason to be not there. And I think that manifests or is a decision for every individual, right?
yeah.
Um, but the weightiness of it, I kind of got a little off track of the question that you asked me, and I lost my trail of thought just then. But
Oh no, I was just mentioning that it's a really cool idea to like connect with
yeah,
other song moms. Yeah,
and it's a gift, um,
yeah,
and it's a gift to just bounce off ideas. Yeah, that's what you were
yeah,
saying,
yeah, and just
and
like even providing that community for people.
right, and claiming it as a thing. Hey, I see you do this thing.
Yeah,
Would you ever want to do it with me?
yeah,
Um, and I've co-written with a few of those gals too, which is so fun.
mm,
Um, which is such a good exercise and opportunity to be outside of your own head as a
mm,
songwriter. Um, but yeah, I don't really know what the Lord is doing in that space. In a lot of ways, I think it's encouraging me, and I know it's encouraging the people that I'm connected with. What does that do beyond that little network of people? I don't know. Will it
mm,
grow? I don't know. I hope so. I don't know what
yeah,
that growth looks like. I don't know if that means I provide other types of gatherings and spaces one day. Maybe the Lord will grow it in that way. But again, it's another just ball to juggle.
mm, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. I don't
communing
know
with
if
other
you,
people who do what you do, it just holds power.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if you saw this article. I think it came out like last week, and I want to say it's from CCM magazine. Um, but it was
Oh,
talking about how like there's
yeah.
fewer female worship
Hmm.
songwriters than before, and just how that number is dwindling more and more.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, and I agree to a percentage because I think what is being pushed forward at the top, like the
Mm,
creme of the crop, what is actually on the radio, not even talking about worship leading or worship
yeah.
music, even just all Christian music, not worship music,
Mm,
all Christian music. I mean, that's been the case for years. So I'm not sure
yeah.
if that's new information, right? But
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, I've been a part of a lot of indie circles as well.
Mm,
UTR, Rabbit Room, those are things that I followed for years. And there's
yeah.
a lot of females there.
Yeah.
So yes, as far as what the radio is pushing, sure, and that's unfortunate and not great.
Yeah. Actually, now that I think
But
about it,
at the
I
same time,
actually,
I don't know. I'm finding so many people, so I don't know. Is that true? I
well,
think
I
the
didn't,
vision of what people see is so narrow minded. Like they drive in their
mm,
car, they turn on Way FM or whatever,
yeah.
and they they don't look outside of that, and you're kind of like, do you realize that there's a whole big world beyond that? And that's
Yeah.
kind of sad to me, but
Yeah. I don't think I actually read the full article. I just like saw the headline, but it's something that I have been in discussion, like private discussions with for years, and just like talking through, okay, where are we at in the industry, as far as like diversity goes. I think the
yeah,
article was saying specifically in the top 100, I want to say, that there's very few female songwriters, which is
right. Well, and I
probably
think
true.
for 2 decades, CCM has had their favorite token females, and there's two or
Hmm.
three slots and space for those token females,
Yeah.
which do so much for the community in general and bless a lot of people. But yeah, there's limited space. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say, okay, yes, there is a problem, but I don't know if they're going to fix it. I think the way to fix it is to continue to grow the indie networks,
Mm.
and push those forward, because in those indie networks, man, there's so many great female songwriters.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah, do
mean,
I wish
I
they were
know
being
of,
played? Yeah,
yeah.
but they are being played in other venues and other
Right.
spaces. So I don't know. Yeah, that's such an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I personally know so many amazing, female artists and songwriters. But if you think about it as far as like quote unquote mainstream Christian, which is
Right,
like the
and that's
radio and stuff,
right. Yeah,
yeah, that's where I think, yeah, there is definitely a lack of diversity and like more representation.
right. Not just
And
women, all represented.
yeah,
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 right.
like
Yeah,
the representation that's like reflective of the kingdom of God,
yeah,
like God's people.
yeah.
So,
Or even
yeah,
genres. I mean, there's really a narrow
yes,
lane for that on the radio too.
yeah,
I would say
yeah,
all of those things have to be fixed simultaneously. You can't just fix one
yeah,
at a time. And are they
yeah.
fixing those things? I don't know. So,
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a we question. Like we get to be a part of fixing it, all of us, like individually, like we get to play a part
I
in
know,
it.
and here I am, a mom of four, doing it. So, will
Yeah.
I make waves? I don't know. Does that matter to me? Maybe sometimes when I lay my head on the pillow and I think, huh, yeah, but I don't know. There's so much beauty in just the faithful small. So, I guess
Mm.
so long as I keep doing that,
Yeah.
the Lord will keep opening, or not. I don't know, but
And you
it would be a
may never
shame
know
not to
until
faithfully at least just continue.
yeah, because you may never know until you meet Jesus
Yeah,
in
I
heaven.
won't. I won't.
Because I mean, there might be a young girl right now who's maybe like 9 or 10 that sees what you're doing and feels inspired and becomes like the next big female artist in Christian radio.
Oh
Like,
yeah. And we've already
there could
seen
be
that
a
happen. That's been crazy.
yeah,
This sweet kid in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
mm,
I
yeah.
handed him a guitar, said, you should buy this kind of electric guitar, give him some lessons. And he's like out doing it. It's a big deal.
Oh wow,
It's
that's
cool.
awesome. Yeah,
Um I just played a show last night, and I will say, being reminded of the in-person people that I have influence over like that, there is no digital representation that replaces that.
yeah,
So I love what I'm doing with the Song Mom out in the spheres, because I'm genuinely connecting with people who don't have a space in their hometown
mm,
to be. Um, but through the lens of the church, I think that's why the church is so important. Those people
yeah,
matter more than anything.
mm,
Um, and I could look at a night like that and be like, well, mostly my friends showed up. 2 new people showed up,
mm,
and they were so
that's
thankful.
awesome.
And I was like,
Yeah,
well, I did it for 2 people maybe, or I just did it for my friends. And
hmm,
that feels silly, but also so good. It's so good when you have a moment when you realize that the people you've poured into show up for you back.
yeah,
And yeah, you just never know. You never know. The tree song
yeah.
that I released this month, um, you said something that made me think of it. It is lonely as a mom. Um, and I think there's a loneliness whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a loneliness whether you're a working mom, because I think
Mm.
there's these wrong perceptions from both sides.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so much work juggling a job that you really don't have space for community. Stay-at-home moms actually sometimes have more space for other mom relationships than working moms do.
Mm.
And so there's this tandem loneliness on both sides. Um, and when I wrote Tree Song, I was working out those feelings of being unheard. Um, and I had met with a friend who was a songwriter, having this conversation of, the age old question of, does a tree that gets cut down, is it heard if no
Mm-hmm.
one hears it? And I remember getting out of my car at Costco with kids and singing a line, and then it became what Tree Song is today. But it's
Oh,
basically
wow.
just a whole conversation of feeling unheard, um,
Mm.
and yet claiming that I would rather hold my kids. I'd rather live the quiet life. First Thessalonians
Mm.
4, but he calls us to.
Wow.
Um, and that process of keeping calling no matter what you feel, because feelings don't actually add up to much, really. Sometimes our feelings are so wrong, right? Um,
Yeah.
our hearts are wicked. They're deceptive. They're not to be trusted most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that calling is just me pursuing whatever it is the Lord has given me. And
Mm.
Ephesians 2:10, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, whatever that good work is. I guess right now I'm writing songs and putting it out there. But, 10 minutes ago or however many minutes ago, I put sunscreen on everybody's face and sent them out the door with dad to the pool. So
Yeah.
I think both of those things hold eternal weight.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I mean, if they get sunburn, I mean that could be damaging for the rest of
That's lifetime, Dan, especially if you're fair like we are.
their life.
Um, yeah.
So you mentioned your project and how you're releasing a single a month. Before I let you, I'd love for you to talk about your EP. When is it coming out? What's it
Yeah, so the
called?
full project is coming out in September, and it's titled Better Things. And each song, in a little way, sort of just is asking those little questions of what is better.
Hmm, man. Yeah, I really enjoy listening to your songs. Just on my like personal playlist I have,
Thank you.
and yeah, it's been really fun for our team to get to work with you and just see your music impact lives, and just
Thank
be able
you.
to like help you, do the right thing the right way, like and
Yeah.
be a good steward of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's what it is. It's stewardship. And I don't know what
yeah,
I'm doing half the time. So y'all have been a huge gift to me. I appreciate it so much. And honestly, just thank you for being a space maker. I mean,
yeah,
the Lord has directed all of this, but you said yes to me when you didn't really have to. I'm kind of a little nobody. Um, I'd like to think maybe we connected on we both have 4 kids or something.
uh,
Or maybe the Lord just, made it happen. God's so good.
yeah, yes, he is.
Not maybe. He did.
So if you would like to connect with Allie, look her up under the username The Song Mom,
Yeah. Thanks.
and website is alliemurphy.com,
Yep.
ALLIE. And you have a hashtag, I guess, that you use, the Song Mom
Oh yeah,
Chats.
the Song Mom chats. That's where all of those live combos are. Yeah.
So thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much, Allie, for taking the
Thank you, Wisdom.
time out of your busy mom life
Thank you.
to
Thanks for inviting
share
me.
your story. And yeah, we appreciate you taking the time. And I think this is really encouraging, even, just not even just for moms, but for, all artists and songwriters out there, because a lot of, what you said is really relatable in different aspects.
Thank
So
you.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too.